caterpillar. Here's the book. And our grade level is first grade. Our subjects are reading, of course, math, science, art, and a little bit of music. Our unit goal, students will be able to state the life cycle of a butterfly. Essential questions for our curriculum: what is the life cycle of a butterfly? What do butterflies eat so much? Why do butterflies eat so much in the life cycle? And how does the book relate to the life cycle of the butterfly? For day 1, our standards RI 1.7, use the illustrations and details in a text to describe its key ideas, and self-management, goal setting. Our objectives, students will be able to summarize the story using key ideas orally, and students will be able to set a goal to recite the life cycle of a butterfly. On this day, we'll be introducing the life cycle video that we have, and we'll read the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and we also have a pairing activity for this day, which is just pairing numbers and objects in the book with like the number of days and the fruit. This is also the day that we're doing our lesson on. For day 2, we have RI 1.2, identify the main topic and retell key details of a text, and we also have self-motivation for this day. Students will be able to restate the order of the life cycle through sequencing, and students will practice self-motivation by doing activities on their own. They will review the life cycle on this day just as a refresher, and we also have a sequencing activity for them, just so they know the order of the life cycle. For day 3, we have RL 1.10, with prompting and support, read prose and poetry of appropriate complexity for grade 1, and we also have self-motivation for this day. Students will practice reading a poem orally, and students will be self-motivated by using food as learning tools. So we have a caterpillar poem for this day for them to read. We also have an edible life cycle to help them keep engaged. And for our math for this day, we have comparing the links of caterpillars. Okay, for day 3, we have RL 1.10 with prompting and support, read prose and poetry of appropriate complexity for grade 1. And we also have self-motivation for this day. Students will practice reading a poem orally, and students will be self-motivated using food as learning tools. They'll have a caterpillar poem to read, and they'll have an edible life cycle to help keep them engaged. And we also have comparing the links of caterpillars for our math activity. For this day, they'll be reading the poem, we'll be talking about the life cycle of the butterfly, and we'll be comparing and measuring links of caterpillars. For day 4, we have our first art standard, which is CR 1.1.3, examine the purpose of everyday objects through art, which is drawing, diagrams, sculptures, and we also have self-discipline. Students will be able to construct a model of the life cycle using everyday objects, and students will demonstrate self-discipline by staying on task. For this day, they'll be measuring links of butterflies, and they have a life cycle cup, which is an everyday object that they can create the life cycle on. For day 5, we have CR 2.1.1. We'll have explore uses of various media using grade level appropriate elements of art and principles of design, like drawing, painting, sculpture, printmaking, mixed media. We'll also be focusing on the drawing and painting for the first graders. And we also have relationship skills and teamwork. The students will be able to create a caterpillar using various forms of media, and the students will be able to use teamwork skills by working in learning centers. Small groups we will have for this day. We'll also have the learning centers, and we also have a formative assessment since it's the last day of the week. We just need to have a review to help them recall the information that we've taught them so far. And this will be mainly focusing on the life cycle of the butterfly. And then for day 6, we have RI 1.7, use the illustrations and details in a text to describe the key ideas. And we have self-motivation for this day. Students will be able to restate the life cycle of a butterfly by using picture cards, and students will be able to apply self-motivation through reading. The picture cards are really just to get the visuals going, to get their hands moving, and to help them keep engaged. On this day, we'll also introduce the BAK song. And then we'll reread The Very Hungry Caterpillar just as a refresher. So this day is just really kind of refreshing on the life cycle of the butterfly and the Very Hungry Caterpillar book. Okay, day 7, We have RL 1.2, which is retell stories, including key details and demonstrate understanding of their central message or lesson, and they also have goal setting for this day. Students will be able to identify the key details of the life cycle of a butterfly and put them in order, and students will be able to set goals to identify the parts of the butterfly. And this is where the science is incorporated, because the butterfly worksheet is just labeling the parts of a butterfly and knowing that. And then we also have a sequencing activity, so they'll be able to order the life cycle of the butterfly correctly. For day 8, we have our first math standard, which is AR Math Content 1GA2, which is composed 2-dimensional shapes like rectangles, squares, trapezoids, triangles, half circles, and quarter circles, or 3-dimensional shapes like cubes, right rectangular prisms, right circular cones, and right circular cylinders to create a composite shape. And we also have social awareness for this day, which is respect for others. Students will be able to design a caterpillar using 2D and 3D shapes, and students will be able to show respect for others by working in learning centers. This day we'll be introducing our music activity that we have for them, and we also have another learning center for them to work on, and they'll be creating a caterpillar puzzle for this day too. And this is just little pieces of like fruit cut up, and you put them together and it'll form the whole piece of fruit like in the book, each of the fruit that they have for each day. And this will also help them to know the order of the life cycle of the butterfly. And for this day we have the shapes of caterpillars is our content. For day 9, we have LS1B, growth and development of organisms. Reproduction is essential to the continued existence of every kind of organism. Plants and animals have unique and diverse life cycles, and we also have self-discipline for this day. Students will be able to state the life cycle by completing a worksheet, and students will demonstrate self-discipline by behaving properly. We also, for this day, we have the sight board game, and we decided to do it human style just to get them up and moving, to get their blood flowing, to get them engaged. And we also have a life cycle worksheet. And for the day, our content is mainly focusing on sight words and the life cycle of the butterfly. For day 10, our last day, we also have the same standard again, LS1B, growth and development of organisms. Reproduction is essential to the continued existence of every kind of organism, and plants and animals have unique and diverse life cycles. But we have goal setting also for this day. Students will be able to recall the life cycle of a butterfly by completing a formative assessment, and students will be able to set a goal to state the life cycle of a butterfly. The formative assessment for this day isn't really like the last week. This one's going to be an overall assessment for the entire 2 weeks that we focus on the life cycle of the butterfly, just so we can know if they like recall the information and that they know what the life cycle of the butterfly is and can tell it in the correct order. And we also have learning centers for this day to keep them engaged and not have them sitting in their chairs for the entire day. And the main idea for this day is the life cycle of the butterfly. And that is our 2-week plan.
We chose to do our main lesson over day 1. We felt like day 1 was a great way to start the unit. The standards for this lesson are: use illustrations and details in a text to describe its key ideas, and self-management goal setting. The objectives are: students will be able to summarize a story using key ideas orally, and students will be able to set a goal to recite the life cycle of a butterfly. The lesson content description is: the teacher will grab the student's attention by showing them a short YouTube video about the life cycle of a butterfly. The teacher will then explain to the students that for the next 2 weeks, they will be discussing the life cycle of a butterfly. The teacher will then do a KWL chart with the students, where the teacher will ask the students what they know and what they want to learn about the life cycle of a butterfly. The teacher will then read the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and explain to the students that this book goes along with the unit lesson on the life cycle of a butterfly. After the book has been read, the teacher will ask the students some key ideas that they remember from the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. After this, the teacher will then explain the math activity that goes along with the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. The teacher will explain that this is a review from last year and that the activity involves pairing the number to the food that was mentioned in the book. The teacher will pass out all the materials and then have students cut out the food first and then glue the food to the correct number on the worksheet. The teacher will walk around the room to make sure the students are staying on task and are pairing the right pictures to the right numbers. After students are done, the teacher will have them go to learning centers where students will explore the different stages of the life cycle of a butterfly by using a magnifying glass and picture cards. The teacher will end the lesson by completing the rest of the KWL chart and asking students what they learned about the life cycle of a butterfly and what they learned from the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Students will be assessed by orally describing the main details in the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and students will also be assessed by completing the pairing objects to numbers worksheet. For our BAK project, we chose to do a song. And the song that we chose to do is called the Caterpillar and Butterfly Song. And the reason why we chose this song is because it goes along with our 10-week lesson talking about the life cycle of a butterfly and the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And we would use this song in our classroom every day. We would use it as a transition song, or we would use it for lining up, or maybe to get our students to be quiet. So now I'm going to demonstrate how the song goes. The song goes to the tune of The Wheels on the Bus. So the first part of the song says, the caterpillars are wiggling around. So this part, you're going to have your students act like they're wiggling around like a caterpillar. And the second part says, the caterpillars are munching and a crunching. So with this, you're going to have your students do a hand motion like the caterpillar is moving their mouth and they're munching and a crunching on some food. And the other part says, the caterpillars are building a cocoon. And on this part, you're going to have your students spin around in a circle like they're building a cocoon. And the very last part says the butterflies are flying all around. And on this part, you're going to have your students act like they're flying all around like a butterfly. 1, 2, ready, go. The caterpillars are wiggling around, wiggling around, wiggling around. The caterpillars are wiggling around, all around the yard. The caterpillars are munching and a crunching, munching and a crunching, munching and a crunching. The caterpillars are munching and a crunching, all around the yard. The caterpillars are building a cocoon, building a cocoon, building a cocoon. The caterpillars are building a cocoon, all around the yard. The butterflies are flying all around, flying all around, flying all around. The butterflies are flying all around the yard. The song that we chose to incorporate is called the Caterpillar and Butterfly Song. And we would incorporate this in our classroom at the beginning lesson, our 10-week unit. The caterpillars are wiggling all around, wiggling around. Grandpa said all around. Flying all around, flying all around. The butterflies are...